Man, I had to go outside and go for a walk before I did this video to cool off. And I'm still pissed off. I'm still pissed. This was straight up sabotage. Stephanie White, you are a bum. Aaliyah Boston, you are even more of a bum. You are a $6 million piece of garbage out there. Your ass can't make a layup. You refuse to pass the ball to Caitlin Clark. You stink. You stink. You've been intentionally not passing the ball to Caitlin Clark for the last 7-8 games. We've been watching and counting. I've been watching your ass not pass her the ball. You can't make a layup to save your life. You just as garbage at layups.
She turned away from the bench and headed straight down the sideline as the arena descended into complete chaos. Caitlin Clark appeared to reach her limit, visibly erupting after a painful 91-85 loss to the Dallas Wings. Head coach Stephanie White stood motionless on the sideline, seemingly stunned by the heated reaction happening right in front of her. This was more than just another frustrating road defeat against a Dallas team that had lost 8 of its previous 11 games. Instead, it felt like the breaking point of a growing internal dispute that had reportedly been building for weeks, creating a situation that could seriously shake the entire franchise.
Mitchell, and she played a hell of a game, but this thing was 100% about Kelsey Mitchell, and I think it had everything to do with them seeing Caitlin Clark climbing that MVP ladder, and they said, hell no, we are sabotaging this, and that is exactly what happened. The Indiana Fever lose to a team in the Dallas Wings that lost 8 out of their last 11 games. You could thank Stephanie White, who wanted to make it all about Kelsey Mitchell. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit the bell notification, hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated, man. I am disgusted with the Indiana Fever. I am disgusted. Stephanie White, get your bum ass in the trash.
The tension on the court was impossible to miss from the very first possession. White designed the opening play specifically for Kelsey Mitchell, once again overlooking Clark as the team's primary playmaker. Clark followed the play exactly as instructed, making the unselfish pass that sent Mitchell to the free throw line. But that opening sequence appeared to establish a troubling pattern that continued throughout the night. Instead of creating a balanced offensive approach, the coaching staff leaned even harder into a highly focused game plan. Before long, it became clear to many watching that Clark was being pushed away from the role of the team's main offensive catalyst.
Hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated, man. I am disgusted with the Indiana Fever. I am disgusted. Stephanie White, get your bum ass in the trash. Get your bum ass in the trash. You are a fucking bum of a coach. You are terrible. You are terrible. You mean to tell me the very first play of the game was ran for Kelsey Mitchell? Caitlin Clark threw her a bounce pass. Kelsey Mitchell went to turn the corner, got fouled, went to the free throw line. From that point on, every single play in the first half was for Kelsey Mitchell. Nobody else could establish a rhythm because you did nothing else for it.
Inside the building, analysts quickly noticed a troubling strategy that seemed almost deliberately crafted to take the generational young star out of the equation. Clark was steadily rising on the league's official MVP ladder, building massive national momentum with each standout performance. Yet the offensive system used against Dallas appeared designed to disrupt her rhythm, funneling the majority of the action through Mitchell while sacrificing the team's overall flow. The Fever were slowly taking apart the very offensive dynamic that had made them so dangerous. With every possession, the tension on the court became more noticeable, and the frustration continued to build.
Kofi Cunningham to get a shot from 3. You like by the time people got looks, they were in no rhythm. There was no rhythm. By the time they actually got looks at the rim. Aaliyah Boston is trash. She does not set screens. You got people tackling Caitlin Clark. Aaliyah Boston, big, soft, sorry ass, don't do nothing. She's a big, soft, sorry piece of if you ask me out there. Aaliyah Boston is ass. $6 million of ass juice out there. She ain't did nothing. Got dominated by Jessica Shepard. Aaliyah Boston, get your sorry ass in the trash too. Go on. Get your sorry ass in the trash.
The numbers from the first 2 quarters made the situation on the court impossible to overlook. Indiana didn't run a single pick and roll or ball screen action specifically for Clark until just 15 seconds remained in the second quarter. Consider how unusual it was to have one of the league's most dynamic playmakers standing on the perimeter with almost no design movement or off-ball screens to create opportunities for her. The approach severely limited her offensive impact and left her watching the action unfold rather than being at the center of it. With the game moving forward, the frustration inside Clark appeared to be growing rapidly.
Straight up bum. Stephanie White, you are the biggest piece of garbage, biggest piece of trash out there. Take a look at this. I'm glad. Look, Caitlin Clark is turning her back on Stephanie White. She's over it. Can we end this thing at the end of the season? Shout out to Kelsey. You played a good game. We're going to get into that. I want this thing broken up by the end of the season. You can't afford both. Pick one and let's move on. At this point, I'd rather y'all keep Kelsey, Stephanie, and AB together in Indiana, and let's let Caitlin go elsewhere. Can we go elsewhere, please? I just want to get the hell away from here. I want to get away from these weirdos. I want to get away from this sabotaging organization. I want to get away from everything. Take a look at this.
Stephanie White seemed completely unaware of the growing breakdown in team chemistry unfolding right in front of her. Cameras repeatedly captured the head coach giving Clark a steady stream of instructions, criticizing her during crucial deadball situations without making meaningful adjustments to the offensive system. Rather than changing the scheme to create better opportunities for her star guard, White appeared increasingly frustrated whenever the ball ended up in Clark's hands. The tension between the coach and superstar became more visible with every passing moment, revealing a growing divide that could no longer be covered up by carefully worded comments in post-game press conferences.
Look at her. Look at her. She don't want to hear it no more. Now look at Stephanie White when Caitlin Clark has the ball right here. She don't even want Caitlin to have the ball. She want Kelsey to have the ball. You see that reaction from the coach? You see that? They hate each other, and it's okay. I'll be glad when this thing is over. I will be glad when this thing is over. Get Caitlin Clark the hell away from this team. Get her the hell out of here, man. Caitlin Clark don't want nothing to do with Stephanie White, and Stephanie White don't want nothing to do with Caitlin Clark, which is fine. Can we stop this whole kumbaya thing, this fake thing? Stop standing up for Stephanie White at
The on-court execution became even more concerning when examining the front-court dynamics and passing patterns. Aaliyah Boston, one of the team's key players and a major piece of the roster, repeatedly avoided running simple handoff actions with Clark on the perimeter. Observers pointed to several possessions where Boston appeared ready to initiate a play with Clark, only to change direction at the last moment and send the ball over to Mitchell instead. This pattern continued to show up throughout the matchup, leaving Clark without any offensive momentum while opposing defenders were able to pressure and trap her aggressively without much fear of being punished inside.
Y'all had to go cake for her at the podium. Y'all lost to a team that lost 8 out of their last 11 games. Caitlin Clark didn't play well. You shot 1 free throw. That shows me you had a lack of aggression. I felt like you checked out in the second quarter, to be honest. I watched you check out. They ran everything for Kelsey Mitchell. You came down the court. You wasn't even looking for no ball screens no more because you knew they wasn't coming. And you know once you pass the ball, you're never getting the ball back. You know that. If we all know it, you know it too. You know Aaliyah Boston don't give you the ball when you give it to her. You know when you go for the handoff with Aaliyah Boston, she's going to do this and then go the opposite way and give it to Kelsey. You know.
Boston's inability to provide reliable physical support in screen and roll situations left Clark exposed to constant defensive pressure. Dallas defenders were able to crowd and bump Clark on the perimeter, yet Boston provided little resistance or meaningful contact to help create separation. To make matters even worse, Clark repeatedly delivered high-percentage opportunities near the basket that Boston struggled to finish. That lack of physical presence allowed Dallas forward Jessica Shepard to control the interior, highlighting Indiana's major weakness in the paint and making the Fever look vulnerable inside.
Game plan. Every game has been that. This girl body just shut down the last game, just like it did in the playoffs last year. And she plays 35 minutes. But she played well with her opportunities. They made it her a focal point. They made it a point to get her established. They made it a point to get Kelsey a rhythm. And when she got that rhythm, she kept it going. They never made it a point to get anybody else a rhythm. Sophie Cunningham, 0-4 from 3. By the time Sophie Cunningham got a look at the rim, the game was almost over. She had no rhythm. No rhythm. Monique Billings sucks. The biggest crock of dog shit for $800,000. I don't know how she's getting 8. She sucks. Monique Billings.
By the middle of the second quarter, Clark's body language had noticeably changed. As the offense continued moving away from her, she stopped looking for screens and became increasingly detached from the game. The box score told the story. Clark finished with just 10 points, 9 assists, and 4 rebounds on 4 of 15 shooting, including 2 of 8 from 3, while attempting only 1 free throw. Her rhythm had clearly been disrupted by long stretches without meaningful involvement. Meanwhile, Kelsey Mitchell exploded for 37 points on 9 of 18 shooting and went a perfect 15 for 15 from the line, keeping Indiana competitive. But the heavy focus on Mitchell came at the expense of overall offensive balance. Sophie Cunningham, normally a reliable perimeter shooter, was held scoreless and missed all 4 of her three-point attempts, highlighting how disconnected the supporting cast had become. Key rotation players like Monique Billings struggled to make an impact, showing how ineffective the offense becomes when most of the lineup is reduced to spectators. Dallas took full advantage of Indiana's growing defensive and communication problems. Eriko Gunbowl scored 32 points, while Jessica Shepard dominated inside with 26 points and 8 rebounds after shooting 10 of 11 in the first half. Despite losing 8 of their previous 11 games, Dallas played with far more cohesion and exposed Indiana's growing struggles. The biggest moment came during a late timeout when Stephanie White approached Clark with more sideline criticism. Clark visibly turned away, raised her hands, and walked toward the end of the bench, creating an unmistakable moment of tension. The confrontation appeared to expose a growing disconnect between the star guard and her coach, challenging the image of unity the Fever had maintained. After months of Clark publicly supporting coaching decisions, her visible frustration suggested that the tension had reached a new level. Stephanie White was hired to turn this young roster into a championship contender by fully utilizing Caitlin Clark's elite playmaking ability. Instead, rigid offensive decisions and questionable rotations have created growing frustration around the team's biggest star. The tension between Clark and Kelsey Mitchell also raises serious concerns, because an offense cannot thrive when 2 key guards appear to be operating in completely different directions. At the same time, Aaliyah Boston's struggles finishing around the rim and setting strong screens have made the half-court offense even harder to execute. When Clark's playmaking isn't converted into points, the frustration only grows. The loss to Dallas could prove to be a major turning point for Indiana, not just because of the defeat, but because the team's visible lack of cohesion exposed deeper problems that could threaten its postseason hopes. If the coaching staff cannot maintain the locker room's trust and respect, the season could quickly fall apart. Fans have already flooded social media with criticism, breaking down missed opportunities, ignored passes, and the tense moment when Clark walked away from White. Many are questioning whether the current system is limiting the team's biggest star rather than putting her in a position to succeed. The pressure on ownership is growing, and Clark's visible frustration after the game only added to the concern. Carrying the weight of constant national attention is difficult enough without feeling disconnected from your own offensive system. Now, the Fever front office faces a major decision. If White cannot adjust her approach and build the offense around Clark's strengths, significant changes may become necessary. After the Dallas loss, Indiana appears to have reached a critical crossroads, and the decisions made next could shape the franchise for years to come. Indiana now faces a major choice: fully build around Caitlin Clark's elite talent with a coaching staff that supports that vision, or risk pushing away one of the biggest stars and attractions in basketball. The Dallas game felt like more than a 6-point loss. It exposed growing tension, questionable tactical decisions, and a star player who appeared increasingly frustrated with her role. If Stephanie White and the Fever leadership fail to respond, the consequences could have a lasting impact on the franchise. Conflict in Indiana may be entering a defining stage, and what happens next could shape the team's future.